Final Fantasy is probably a series that needs no introduction. It's the quintessential RPG, well, with the grinding and the random battles and the story and such. But you know, I never really dug my teeth into this series. I wasn't the type to play RPGs all that often, and only certain examples caught my eye, such as Earthbound. But I've started this whole review thing, right? I can give this game franchise a shot, can't I? Well, of course I won't be playing every Final Fantasy game out there. There's the weird MMO ones, and there's stuff that's just not feasible for me to play. I'll touch on maybe the first 6. Those are the ones that are most feasible for me to play. And of course, better way to start than the original. Final Fantasy 1 for the... That's a lot of ways to play Final Fantasy 1. Okay, full transparency, I'm not playing this many versions of the same game for a review. It's not happening. So what version? Well, the safe choice is probably the recent Pixel Remaster version, which has an arranged soundtrack and new features and streamlines the gameplay experience. Another safe version may be the Game Boy Advance version or the PSP version. They changed some elements of the game, and the PSP one looks like dog shit, but no, I'm not playing these versions. I'm extreme. I'm hardcore. I chose to go all the way back to the first version, Final Fantasy for the NES, released in 1990. This review will be structured a little bit differently from my past reviews. The other games I covered were short, but this one's a monster. This one's a beast. My playthrough took me 20 hours, and the other games don't seem to be any shorter. So I figured rather than simply talk generally about the game, I could go through all the events in the story that take place and give some thoughts along the way. This allows me to more easily structure the script for this, and it also saves me from sifting through so much footage for what's going to be quite a long video. With that being said, I can get into the game proper now. Well, no, I can't. I need to set up the team real quick. Final Fantasy is unique. It allows you to have 6 classes for your party members. These classes can't be changed, but the amount of options for you to choose from means the game is very customizable for repeat playthroughs. You can even double up on characters for more options. It's really open on what you can do. You can even do 4 white mages, but it will never work. The team I chose for this playthrough was a fighter, black belt, white mage, and black mage. The fighter is probably the best class in the game, having the most equipment available and being able to take a beating. A competent team should have at least one of these guys. And fuck it, you could just have 2 of them. They're that good. But I chose to have 4 unique characters. That's where the black belt comes in. The black belt is a very interesting class. It starts out as complete trash, and it always dies and does shit for damage. But as you progress further into the game, he does more and more damage with his bare fists. I left this guy unequipped for the whole game, and by the end, he was doing as much damage as my fighter. The white mage is the healer, support class, and sucks at dealing damage because it's a mage. Magic is not too great in this game as the stat affecting its strength is bugged, so it doesn't do anything. You should get used to that. The unique spells that the white mage does have are pretty useful though, so it's good to have one around. The black mage is the most iconic class, but he's kind of eh. This guy can't take a beating and he has the lowest HP of all. I mean, this guy is just gonna die more often than not. But when he gets to stay alive, his black magic is pretty good, but not as good as anything a physical fighter can do. Now for the 2 that I didn't pick, the thief and the red mage. The red mage is kind of like the other mages I talked about, but he can also equip weapons that are worth something and deal some decent damage in combat. He has access to some of the white and black magic, but it's not all of it. He's surely a jack of all trades, and he's not the best at anything. Still a solid class I would choose in a future playthrough. Although the same cannot be said about the thief, who is considered the worst class in the game. The thing with the thief is it doesn't have much separating it from the other classes. Their main stat that they're supposed to be proficient in is bugged, so it's functionally a fighter that can only equip subpar weapons and might have a better chance of running away from things. But no, because that's bugged. You're better off picking a red mage or even another fighter than having one of these on the team. Well, I've got my party set. Let's get into the game proper. You start out with nothing except for 400 gold. There are shops in the towns where you can buy equipment for your characters, inns for you to stay in, and recover all your HP, and clinics to revive characters in case they die. It all functions well enough, but here's a gripe I have. Buying equipment in shops is practically a guessing game, since the game gives you no indication on who can equip it until you buy it and try it for yourself. It's very frustrating, and a player with a lack of knowledge can easily waste a ton of money on something they can't even use. It's the same thing with magic, but even worse. The names of magic are abbreviated to 4 characters, so you get stuff like harm, or aillet, or rub. Well, the problem of who can equip what magic is kind of mitigated. You have to guess what some of these spells do, and they're way more expensive. Not helping is the fact that some of these spells are bugged as well. There's spells like Tumper, which don't do jack shit, or spells like Lock 2, which do function, but differently than expected. Also, you're very limited with magic usage. Instead of an MP system, you're given a limited number of uses for a certain level of spell. And once you run out, that's it. You're gonna have to find an inn or use specific items later in the game to restore them. Now, I may be spoiled with my baby RPGs, but this system feels very archaic to me. It works fine enough, but it's a little bit confusing when you start out. I can see the balance being thrown way off if you're given a ton of uses for spells. Once you're fully equipped, you're ready to venture out into the admittedly very small world. One thing I do like about this game is you're allowed the chance to walk around. You're given an objective, you can talk to people, you really are let to explore what little you can. And this feeling only amplifies as you get further and further into the game and are able to explore more and more. Now let's talk about the battle system, since you'll no doubt be encountering one within a few steps. The series' iconic timed battle system, active time battle, whatever the fuck it's called. The series' iconic active battle system hasn't been implemented yet, so battles are pretty much, you pick your moves, you watch it play out. Unique from other games at the time is the ability to actually see your characters do each action. But man, it's the slowest thing to sit through. And it gets worse when you have more than one enemy. You see, if one of your characters kills an enemy that another character was also targeting, that other guy's attack will not redirect to a different enemy, and it'll instead just completely whiff and that character's turn is wasted. While it does cause you to be more intentional when attacking, it also drags out battles even longer. The battle thong, maybe not. The song that plays in battles is pretty good though. Sure, it's the only one for the whole game, but it's really catchy. I didn't have a problem no matter how many times I heard it through the game. Now, the first objective of the game is you need to rescue Princess Sarah. She's locked up in the Temple of Fiends to the northwest. I like how the map is designed to kind of guide you up there. You're limited in places to go after a while, so eventually you will stumble across the dungeon, even if you're just wandering around aimlessly. It's a nice introduction to the game. The first boss is Garland, who is pretty easy, all things considered. Although I do like his line where he says he'll knock you down. It's a little bizarre, but charming. He doesn't really do anything else, though. He's kind of uninteresting. With that done, you're transported to the castle, where you're given a loot from the princess and a bridge built for you to gain access to the northern region. With this, your adventure can truly begin. Welcome to the world of Final Fantasy. And then realize that the next few hours are going to be a total slog. This game does not start out the greatest. You're pretty weak unless you excessively fight several hundreds of imps outside Corneria. So the best bet is literally just to grind, and without doing so you'll not be prepared for any of the next dungeons. Here's a useful tip: there's a spot to the east of Provoca, which is the next town, where you can fight monsters from way later in the game and get a ton of experience. Definitely do this if you don't want to waste any more time than you really need to. Seriously, it's so ridiculously helpful and removes a lot of the tedium. It honestly feels intentional. Your next actual objective, now that the map has... Your next objective, now that the map has been expanded, is to save the town of Provoca from a pirate gang that's been terrorizing it. You can talk to Vic to fight 9 pirates, the largest enemy group at this point in the game. They have very little HP, so it's more like an introduction to a large enemy group. It just comes down to killing each one, slowly and patiently. You get access to a ship for doing this, which opens up the map more. Like I said, the expansion of the map throughout this game is really well done. You have so many more places to explore now that you have access to the sea. Now, the actual objective is up in the air at the moment, but it's basically one big fetch quest. You have to get a crystal eye for a blind witch, but to do that you need to retrieve the crown from the marsh cave. You don't really know any of this unless you talk to everybody, so you just kind of stumble around. My god, the marsh cave is one bitch of a dungeon. A pretty good introduction to what most of the dungeons are in this game. That being their huge mazes with tons of dead ends and enemies beating the shit out of you 24/7. Enemies in here even have a chance to poison you. which makes it a really annoying sound, like a cat getting its anus torn out. Or paralyze you, which causes that character to not be able to move until it wears off. And yes, you can get stun locked by these guys, and it happens a lot. No joke, the best strategy for this place is grind until you can buy 99 heal potions and 99 pure potions, because trust me, you'll be needing them. Okay, you may not need that many, but you definitely do need to stock up. While we're here, buying potions is so mind-numbing. If you want to buy multiple of the same item, you need to do it one at a time. Very slow. And considering you want to be stocked up on potions for most of the game, I suspect this is where a quarter of my playtime went. And no, I don't have the option to speed up nor turbo. Woe to me. And healing with potions has the same issue. You have to go into the menu, select potions, heal with it, and then select it again because the cursor doesn't even say where you were. And for some reason the potions all reside straight at the bottom of your inventory, for reasons I can't possibly perceive, which means you'll have to make a bunch of cursor movements every time you want to heal, which will be all the fucking time in these dungeons. The boss of the Marsh Cave is a group of wizards. They could be frustrating, but just my luck, I was able to get by them without any issue. Funny enough, I think I tried this game a couple years ago, and this happened to be where I stopped, because I found the Marsh Cave just so frustrating to deal with. I didn't feel like grinding. Anyway, after that disaster, you need to deliver the crown back to the King of the Elves. But in a surprising plot twist, it turns out to be the Dark Elf Astos, who is both the Crystal Eye and the crown. And now you must kill him for his liver! Well, it doesn't sound so good when I say it. Anyway, yeah, Astos over here is the next boss, and he comes packaged with a nasty spell, which is Rub. It's not very obvious what Rub will do when you see it in the magic store, but here, Astos will make it glaringly obvious when he kills you in one hit with it. And this will be the first thing he does in the battle. What an asshole. Well, I guess it would be an ass toast. He's not memorable other than that, though. The bosses in this game are generally not interesting. It's more like attrition. Enemies will just hit you over and over. And it becomes especially obvious later in the game that that's the case. Anyways, yeah, after that there's not too much fanfare. You can pretend to be the king all you want, but there's nothing explicitly telling you what you need to do next. You just have to remember the stuff you did earlier. You know, deliver the eye to the blind witch, cure the illness of the elf prince, and then he gives you the mystical key. And the mystical key brings a unique concept to the table. It unlocks items that were previously locked behind locked doors. It encourages the player to revisit previous places. However, you'd have to pay me to go back into the Marsh Cave, man. Come on. And the rest of the stuff you can get isn't even worth it either. It's a neat idea, but a pretty horrible execution, all things considered. And get this, the next objective is to deliver TNT to the Dwarf's Cave. Wanna know why I didn't mention it earlier? It's completely out of the way. It's not even relevant to this point. We need to blow up the canal. If you don't explore absolutely everywhere with the ship, you're not really gonna know the Dwarf's Cave even exists. But when you do figure it out, you can travel to the wasteland they call Melmond. The land is dried up, and the town in general is pretty beat up looking. This is all the work of a nasty vampire. But hey, isn't that weird? Vampires aren't supposed to make the earth rot. They're supposed to suck blood. But it is a fantasy after all, I guess they could do whatever they want. The next point of interest is the Earth Cave. New to this dungeon are fixed tiles that always make you encounter a monster. This is fine in the sense of the monsters are guarding a special treasure, but then you walk on it again, you have to fight the monster again. It's just not worth it going for this crap. The enemies in here also hit even harder as well, making it a frustrating experience. If someone died, I wouldn't even bother making the hike all the way back to Melmond. If someone died, I wouldn't even bother making the If one of my party members died, I wouldn't even bother making the hike all the way back to Melmond, which, mind you, is very far away. I just reset the game, which caused its own problem, as I'd often lose a bunch of progress. What a nightmare. Although the music of this dungeon is a favorite of mine, it's got a pretty good rhythm. I'd appreciate it more if it wasn't interrupted constantly by battles, though. The boss at the end is, you guessed it, the vampire himself. And what a pushover! He has a very small amount of HP, so much so that I was able to deal with them in one turn. Perhaps this is implying something terrible. The vampire wasn't the really guy. He was just a lackey. You get a ruby from the chest near him. And, well, what's this? There's a strange block here. But if you pause the game, you can see there's even more to the dungeon after the vampire. Maybe I was right. The vampire simply is a lackey for some other fiend. Now this ruby, you're not even told what to do with it. You gotta go to the Titan's cave and give it to this giant that's blocking the way. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember giants eating rubies in any of the legends I've seen. Maybe I've missed some of them. You need to go through here to talk to a sage who gives you a rod. As you can probably guess, you use the rod to get rid of the block in the Earth Cave. This game's just a set of trading sequences, isn't it? The Earth Cave itself only gets rougher as you travel further and further down. You find these enemies named cockatrices, which have the chance to turn a character into stone, which is instant death. You're expected to buy soft potions from a shop, but of course, as you don't get a description of items, you'd have no damned clue what a soft potion even was. It doesn't come up anywhere else before this. The good thing is that these enemies have very little HP, so it isn't too likely you'll get stoned. But the possibility is always there. Anyways, after a long trip through the Earth Cave, you'll meet the Lich, the first of the four fiends, an elemental quartet who are causing problems around the Earth. The Lich is the true being causing the Earth to rot. He's also a pretty fearsome opponent, using powerful magic to slay his foes. But you wouldn't actually know that from watching my footage. He didn't use a single magic attack when I fought him. Just my luck. After killing Lich, one of the 4 orbs on the menu lights up. That's the main objective of the game. You must kill the 4 fiends to light the orbs. What I like is that they gave you an easy way out of the dungeon after killing the boss. I would hate to be stoned by a bird while walking all the way back out. Your next objective after this is, get this, unclear. What a common theme. I suppose the game expects you to explore absolutely everywhere with the ship, but damn it, I'm too stupid to know exactly where I'm needed next. Plus you get harassed constantly by enemies, making it not worth the trouble. The next objective is in Crescent Lake, where a circle of sages gives you canoe. I like the design of this town. It's the perfect way to introduce the canoe. So you have to walk all the way around to get into the town the first time, since it's surrounded by a river. But after getting the canoe, you can cut through the river, saving you a bunch of time. And the game opens up a considerable amount here. You have the option of going to Gurgu Volcano, or saving it all the way later and heading to Ice Cave first. No, I went with the former, though. The Gurgu Volcano introduces another mechanic, that being damaging floors and— oh god, my eyes! Oh! That's right, every step on one of these tiles will cause the screen to flash white. Every single time! My eyes were strained after playing this dungeon for a while. I did 3 whole trips. One for treasure, one for defeating the boss, and one because I got killed. It's not even immediately obvious you can walk on the floor here as well. I thought it was just an impassable lava tile. But it's worse! It gives me a damn seizure! Aside from that, the rest of the dungeon is pretty annoying as well. You have these cockatrices and they can instantly kill you, enemies that will hit like a truck, and many fixed encounters. I had 99 potions going in. I need to restock it or making it to floor 2 of 6. Would you believe me if I said this isn't even my least favorite dungeon? The boss of this dungeon, Carrie, was an aspect that I liked though. She killed both of my mages. It's a nice cap to an already difficult dungeon. Difficult dungeon, difficult boss. It's great. Still though, I would have liked if she had some kind of weakness. The Lich is weak to fire and harm spells due to being undead. So why isn't Carrie weak to ice? Well, I looked it up and apparently she's not weak to anything. It's kinda weird. Maybe they just forgot to assign her something. Next is the Ice Cave. Now that you even know to go here, sages don't say anything different from before. The hint's instead given you by this random guy in the graveyard. How you would know to talk to him is beyond me. The Ice Cave is my actual least favorite dungeon though. Combine the previous dungeon's damaging floors with long-ass mazes, worthless treasure, and oh god, the enemies. Of course there's the mages, who have the awful tendency to ambush you and subsequently cast rub. They're pretty rare. But what isn't rare is the sorcerers. These fuckers, these little bastards, these little shits are the main reason I hate this place. Their attack, measly. It only does a single point of damage most of the time. But for whatever reason, Square was possessed by the devil making these enemies and gave these assholes the ability to straight up kill you with a regular attack. They can also paralyze you. A party-wide paralyze, leaving you helpless while they keep battering you. I once got stun-locked by a group of these guys and everyone in my party died. I hate these guys, and they show up more times later in the game. Isn't that fun? Fuck this enemy. For all the awfulness that is the ice cave, though, the boss is not even threatening. I sure hope this doesn't become a pattern for the rest of the game. That would be unfortunate if I thought there were enemies that stuck with me more than the actual boss of the area. I can't even remember what the boss of this area was. I went back to the spot to grind later on, since the boss is just so easy and forgettable. It's a fixed encounter, so you just keep walking on it and killing the boss to get tons of levels pretty quickly. Obtain the floater for killing me. What is a floater, you may ask? Well, I don't know. I sure don't think it's a floater from the toilet. What I do know is the one spot where I haven't checked is this desert under Crescent Lake. So hey, what the heck? Let's use a new floater here. Oh wow, an airship spawned right next to me. Yeah, that was pretty much what happened for me. I'm sure someone talks to you in some town somewhere, but I just explored until I found what to do. But man, the airship is such a sick reward for making it through the ice cave. This thing is fast, you don't get any encounters on it, and the music's pretty good as well. My one complaint is you can only land on grass, and by that I mean these solid green tiles. Most of the areas you have to go to don't have any close by tiles of grass on them, but you better believe they have a lot of tiles that you should be able to land on, but you just aren't able to. Most of the time I'm desperately searching for some spot to land, and it was always out of the way. I guess it's fair since you're expected to work to achieve your next goal, but I found it really annoying. The airship does cause the game to completely open up though, even more. You can do the next events in any order from here on out, but I'll be covering the way I did it, what is probably the intended order. So the first objective is the Citadel of Trials. The gimmick here is these teleporters that look like pillars. Why they look like pillars is beyond me. You walk into them and teleport. Walking into a pillar is a way to get teleported into a hospital bed, but I don't think you're going to actually go anywhere with it. Your reward for braving the dungeon is some sick Zeus consoles that catch a free lightning spell when used in battle. I like this gimmick. It allows more use for items that would generally be outclassed. Well, you also get a smelly rat tail. Why we couldn't just chop off some other rat's tails beyond me. But what I do like is you actually use the rat tail very close by, which is good. It's to the east of them from the Citadel of Trials, so an astute player is sure to notice the many holes in the ground if they go that way. You need to give the tail to Bahamut, the king of the dragons, who wore your bravery with a class change. I kinda lied about not being able to change your class earlier, but it's not so much changing a fighter from a red mage as it is changing a fighter to a more buffed out fighter. Most of the changes are pretty great. The fighter becomes a knight and can equip more powerful weapons, as well as use a bit of healing magic, and the mages can both cast higher level magic. The black belt? Well, apparently he gets absolutely nothing, but 3 out of 4 upgraded characters isn't so bad. The only thing I can't say I like is the new designs. It looks like every character took steroids, it's a little off-putting. Anyways, with these roided out characters, we must now go under the sea to the sunken shrine. Please let me say this. The method to get here is really stupid though. You need to buy a bottle from a caravan. It's yet another instance where the game forces you to grind because this guy's selling it for way too much. Not only do you need to grind for money, but this guy's in the middle of nowhere. He's on a random tile in this desert area. There was no way I could have found this without looking it up. The fairy, when released, gives you Oxyale. Now what is Oxyale? I don't know, but it does allow me to breathe underwater, I guess. The actual sunken shrine itself is a fairly easy dungeon, with the most dangerous part being that it's fairly large and it's very easy to get lost. There's also these ghost enemies that hit way too hard for this point in the game, and you can't run away from them, so you pretty much always take massive chunks of your HP if you encounter them. They hit harder than the actual boss of the dungeon, the Kraken. And speaking of him, he's a complete joke. Sure, he hits hard, but a lot of the time he's just going to throw ink at you, which doesn't seem to do anything. In fact, that just doesn't do anything. Yet another error in this game. Oh well, can't complain about a free crystal. The next location is the Mirage Tower. Unlike the previous dungeons, I think this location is very intuitive. You see, using the airship, you can fly over this massive desert. And right there in the middle is this massive tower that practically screams dungeon. But you're not allowed to enter due to another trade quest. In the Sunken Shrine, you'll find a slab in one of the chests. You use the slab to learn Lefinian and acquire the chimes, which is how you enter the Mirage Tower. However, the person you need to show the slab to is all the way back in Melmond, which is an area you probably haven't even thought about since rescuing it. There's nothing cluing you in that this is where you need to go, and it's just more cryptic stuff, which is a trademark of the NES. But not to mention you also need a cube to get access to more of the dungeon, and the way to find this cube is also cryptic. You need to ride the canoe into this random waterfall. Again, there's nothing really cluing you into this. didn't really talk to every NPC, but do you really blame me? The times I had talked to NPCs, they mostly just said the same lines that I'd already heard, even after doing specifically what they're talking about. That being said, the Mirage Tower is sort of an odd shift compared to the rest of this game. You see, this game is at a relatively medieval setting up to this point, but after setting the cube in place, you're taken to the real dungeon, the floating castle, and it looks high-tech and futuristic. There are even robots walking around here, and the enemies you encounter generally look more mechanical. However, this dungeon isn't without my gripes, although they're more about general gameplay this time. First off, enemies that will ambush you and do a party-wide attack are seriously annoying. It's not like you're in any danger of dying, as at this point their attacks do so little, but you're forced to sit through the game explaining that Character 1 took an attack, Character 2 took an attack, Character 3 took an attack, one at a time, every time. It drags out these already long battles. Inventory space is also starting to become an issue. Each character can only hold 4 weapons and 4 pieces of armor. This isn't a big problem at the start, but if you open a chest, the game will tell you that your inventory is full. It doesn't even tell you what the item is. You run the risk of throwing away a valuable item for a piece of junk. I would appreciate a space for equipable items so that I wouldn't have to deal with this risk. The actual dungeon itself is another breather though. Again, the only trouble you'll run into is getting lost, and it's amplified here. There's this room that loops, and unless you can find the correct exit, you'll be stuck wandering around this seemingly endless space. There's also the chance you'll meet a great, powerful foe. Let me introduce you to Warmech, one of the most powerful attackers in the game with HP that rivals the final boss. This guy is defeated in a couple of attacks, but it's important to note the impact that this enemy had. It could technically be considered the first super boss ever created, and without it, the concept probably wouldn't be as prevalent as it is now. What I don't like is that it's a random encounter, so if you're just minding your own business, you could get attacked by the Warmech, and he has a very high ambush chance, so chances are he's just going to kill you if you're not prepared. The actual boss of the dungeon, Tiamat, is nothing to sneeze at either. Powerful magic, physical attacks, and no weaknesses. I was surprised by the amount of magic she has access to, but still I was able to steamroll her in just a couple of turns. The last dungeon's all the way at the beginning, in the same place where you defeated Garland way back when. I have to say, the idea of going back to where it all started is clever. This place is destroyed when you first enter it, but now with the 4 orbs you can travel back and see how it really looked. I can't really think of any other way to end this game, especially considering what happens later. But can we talk about the bullshit way that the loot is used? You get the item at the very beginning of the game, and it sits in your inventory like a rock until right now. There's a block here preventing you from progressing further into the dungeon. And somehow you're supposed to know exactly right here that you need to play the loot, even though it's done nothing else for the whole game. And you can miss it in this version. What would be to the players who didn't grab it or are just stuck in the past with no way out? Oh yeah, this is the point of no returns. If you don't have a spell you can use to leave, you're stuck here and you're forced to reset. An aspect I enjoyed about this dungeon, however, is each of the 4 fiends actually comes back. The game really pulls out all the stops to try and take you down. But these guys are practically the same for their previous incarnations. I was able to defeat the Lich in just 1 hit, and the rest of them didn't fare much better either. If you go out of your way, you can even grab the Masamune, the most powerful sword in the game, but by now it's overkill. A black belt does nearly the same damage with just his bare hands. It's insane how busted the party is near the end of the game. Of course, now is the time to face the final foe, the true mastermind behind all this evil, the true bringer of chaos, and it's... oh, Garland. Well, yeah, surprisingly, Garland is the final boss. Well, kind of. The actual final boss is called Chaos, but Garland states that he transformed into Chaos after being sent back into the past by the 4 fiends. In the past, his hatred creates the 4 fiends, and this creates an infinite loop of Garland being turned into Chaos. This plot twist is pretty unexpected, all things considered. It's a nice tidbit of story in a game that mostly lacks one, all things considered. Chaos himself is easily the most imposing, intimidating enemy of the game. He's got a massive sprite and attacks which are nothing to sneeze at. Although I do wish there was at least a separate song for the final battle. It kinda takes away some of the impact of this being the final battle when the music is the same one I've been hearing for the whole game. But the rush you get from fighting Chaos is so unparalleled. There's a chance to pull out all the stops, use all the most powerful magic at your disposal. Chaos even has a unique death animation, another first for the RPG genre. It truly gives you the feeling of the satisfaction for conquering this tough game. And that was Final Fantasy. The Warriors of Light have broken the time loop and peace prevails. Their journey will always be remembered, even if it was all just a legend. And the true Warrior of Light was you, all along. So what do I think of this game? Well, it's hard not to take note of the various flaws this game has. Battles are archaic and clunky, with each fight lasting quite a long time. Enemies are frustratingly annoying, with several of them having effects that practically put the party out of commission. Not to mention the fact that several groups have the bonus of not being able to be run away from. Bosses, on the other hand, are practically jokes, and the game's difficulty as a whole is severely understated in this second half. Now, it could be a thing of me making my party too powerful, but I like a good challenge throughout in games. Magic is very underpowered, since the stat affecting it is bugged. The best strategy is simply to mash the attack button with your more powerful characters and save the magic for when you need the heal. It sucks because the idea is there for a greater balance between physical attack and spells, but a glitch prevents it all from working out. Shops, inventory space, and some cryptic spots are also major flaws. What I do enjoy about this game is the progression of navigation throughout. Slowly and slowly you get access to more and more of the map as you play. This makes spots where you progress easier to find, as you can take note of new places as you explore. The gameplay loop is also pretty addicting once you get the hang of it. I found myself wanting to play the game again on my off time, just so I can get farther in and fight new bosses. Plus, you can't really deny the innovations this game brings to the genre. A ton of shit that was introduced in this game was reused and innovated even further on in other RPGs. The 6 jobs introduced in this game are easily recognizable and iconic symbols of the series. I believe this game is worth a playthrough even today, though you might have a better time in one of the countless remakes that fixed a myriad of bugs and changed certain mechanics. I think I'd rate Final Fantasy on the NES an 8 out of 10. I really did enjoy this game. I think it was well worth adding to my collection. It's an instant classic for sure, and although I did get frustrated in some spots, I wouldn't pass up the chance to play it through once again. And that's the video. This really was a long effort. I've been planning to do a video on this game for a while, ever since I started making scripted content a while back. It took me ages to even finish playing through the game, as I kept getting sidetracked by other things. And the script took quite a while as well. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the longest video I've had to do by far, so I appreciate hearing what you think of this game in the comments. As for future plans, well, obviously I'm going to have to review Ninja Gaiden 2, after the success that first review had. That video won't take nearly as long. As for the sequel to this game, Final Fantasy II, I'm honestly not sure when I'll make a video covering it. The reception I've heard has been mostly negative, so I am eager to take a look at it. This video took so long, and I don't want to hold myself back from making other reviews in the near future. I suppose we'll just have to see when exactly I'll cover the game. Anyways, this has been Meme John. See ya.